You're listening to Btches, a podcast that creates a positive and welcoming dialogue about mental health. We push our boundaries of comfortability by revealing mental health struggles hidden deep within ourselves while also having a few laughs along the way. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a conversation with Btches. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Btches. How are you today, Rachel?
I am in a food coma right now. Just had some good Thai food.
Good ass Thai food.
And I'm sad I finished my Thai iced coffee. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel a little like blum. Like I'm just like, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to sit up straight, but all I want to do is like curl up.
Probably not the best thing to eat before
feel my stomach.
Podcast, but
Yeah, first it's pizza, then it's Thai food. I don't know what I'm going to do,
You
next.
did that to yourself.
I did do that to myself. Jeez. So,
all right. Anyways,
in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the media.
Yes.
It's called
The Media Made Me Do It. Yeah, they did. And disclaimer, per usual, we are not mental health professionals, okay? And just, we're just people. We are just people
that deal with
sharing
things.
our experiences with the mental health and mental illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And, sharing our, tips and things that work for us. So, take it all with, a grain of salt. And please seek professional help if you feel like you need it. Anyways, so I'm Rachel Lako. I am an actress, filmmaker, mental health advocate, and I love Thai iced coffee. I thought I'd throw in a fun
walks on the beach.
I thought I'd throw in a fun fact today. So there you go.
Dating profile.
Oh Lord.
And
I'm bisexual.
AD.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, you guys already knew that, so that's not really a new thing.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
If you listen to our other podcasts, thank you.
Yeah, listen to our other episodes because they are very fascinating. Everything. We have these really intense topics and interesting conversations about them and how we've dealt with these things in our lives and how other people could also be dealing with them as well. Mm-hmm. And maybe it will resonate with you. So definitely check out our other episodes.
Yes, please do. Continue your introduction.
Oh, yes.
You forgot to introduce yourself.
Well, I was, but then Rachel was like, I want to talk more about myself.
Anyways, you are.
I am AD. I am a witchcraft connoisseur, and I have interesting facts every so often on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested in witchcraft, paganism, and all things occult, check out my YouTube channel. It's the same, AD.
Yeah. She's
pronounced
a YouTuber.
AD, but spelled EADIG.
There you go. Yeah. I also put things on YouTube, but not anymore. So that's okay.
Yeah, you used to make films. Let's make more films.
I mean, no, I still make films, just not on
but
YouTube.
You used to post them. Yeah.
I make films,
Like she's a filmmaker. Get it right.
Get it right, people. Y'all better know. Okay, anyways, so today, hey, that's a great segue.
Yeah,
we were talking about films.
About the freaking
talking about films and TV shows and music too, and just the news, media
in general,
journalism,
and
all
how
of that.
It affects us in our mental health.
All of it, all the kinds of media.
Yeah,
not just a particular part. Why are you laughing?
Because in case they weren't aware.
Yes, in case you didn't know, media is
everything.
Encompasses a lot of different things.
All encompassing.
Right. So, to start off, are you ever triggered by the media's portrayal of mental illness?
Rachel,
and
would you like
to
answer that question?
And if so, how? And share your story. I asked you first.
Yeah, I know, but I always start first.
Because I asked the question.
I know.
Yeah, I told you have to beat me to it.
I want to be inspired by your answer this time.
Oh my God. I think you have a better answer first.
Jeez. Goddamn. Okay, fine.
You can't do that because I asked the question.
Yeah, I mean, where do we begin? I am often triggered by things in the media, whether it's music, whether it's TV, like movies, and in general. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will ask me, we even had this conversation earlier, oh, you haven't seen this episode or this show? Mm-hmm. You should definitely check it out. And sometimes I wonder if I should say, I can't really watch that because it will trigger me, or if I should just say I'm not interested or whatever. And some people will be just flabbergasted by the fact that I haven't seen this absolutely incredible show that everyone's talking about. But it's a thing that does happen often where I'll watch something and immediately it will it will trigger me. It will make me remember something that I either forgotten or wanted to forget or chosen to forget, or it'll make me have feelings of, what happened during the time when I also felt those things and all of this stuff. So, I guess recently I was triggered by episodes of Euphoria and how
I was just talking about Euphoria. Let's talk about that show.
How intense the portrayal of mental illness is, and how everything that the characters go through in their youth and everything like that. And it's like, it's very, very accurate. And when I was watching it, everybody was around. Like, we live in a
we had a
space,
whole
so everybody was watching it. It was like a Euphoria party.
That was the second time I've seen it.
yeah. And I remember, like, I was going through and like kind of watching it, but then every so often I had to get up and I had to just go do something else or work out or like get my mind off of it, because it was very difficult to watch because I had so many of those thoughts and remembrances and moments where I was just like, I just can't. Like, I guess the most influential thing that I've watched in my life was Skins. The British version, not the piece of shit American version, because that's just...
I haven't seen the...
fucking...
Yeah, I haven't seen the British version.
Monstrosity. Atrocity, that was the word I was looking for. So the British version of Skins has a character named Effie, and she is very to herself. She tries not to care too much about people and all of this stuff, but she's silent for the most of the first season because she just doesn't talk. She's not interested in being close to anyone. But gets to a point where we get to figure more out about her in a later season, and this episode or this season is about her and her friends and everything that she goes through. And she had moments where she was finding herself and realized that she was deeply depressed. She ended up like cutting and all of these things, and she got so bad to the point where she ended up going to a hospital, and they like went through therapy and all of these things. And as a teenager growing up and watching this character that I loved and emulated in a way, I dressed like her and all of this stuff. I was trying to find myself and all of these things. Seeing someone do something in a movie, it like, I don't know, sometimes I can lose my sense of self because I'm interested in like being more like that person or something like that. So then like as a teenager, when this person is like breaking down, I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know, my teenage brain is like, I'm in that place, like I am going through similar things in my life. I'm going through these moments where like I have these suicidal thoughts and I am cutting and all of these things. And it's just like, oh man, like, that is a part of my life. And it's interesting thinking back on like everything and how that character kind of shaped me as a person and the fact that it even happened, because it's just like, this is a fictional character in a TV show, and somehow it made this impact on my life. And it's crazy how that can happen.
That's
but it really
how storytelling is so powerful.
It is
and
so
why
powerful.
I think like, which is why this episode is titled "The Media Made Me Do It," because the media is so influential in our everyday lives, and we we don't even think about it. It's everything that we see in the media in some way, shape, or form does influence us.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's really interesting. I haven't seen Skins either one.
It's so intense.
I know. I've heard.
Not to mention, well, I am going to mention it, but also growing up in the early 2000s made us aware of the emo movement and subculture.
Movement. Yeah, that's a big thing in the 2000s.
I was a nonconformist, so I chose not to go with any, ridiculous titles anyone wanted to call me back in the day. But as, people know, emo kids were very nonconformist and never went with any other names and hated when people called them emo. And yet all of them did the same things, wore the same things, listened to the same music, and they kind of conformed to the nonconformity.
And you're
so
saying
what I'm trying to say,
you were one of them?
I was an emo kid. And I feel like a lot of listeners can definitely resonate with that because, we're growing into our
scene kids.
late 20s. Yeah, well, I was a scene kid after being an emo kid, but like, let's not go there.
Oh man, I went through so many different phases. Like, I had no idea who I was.
Hey,
I went through so
it's not
many
a phase.
of those.
I had that shirt.
Okay, I went through phases. She's like, I'm still that person.
I legit had that shirt, and I was like, fuck everybody who thinks this is a phase. I'm wearing black. I'm fucking shopping at Hot Topic.
Today.
I totally should have. I mean, obviously, I don't have it anymore because it was like a while ago.
Sure. She sleeps with it on.
But seriously, like, it was definitely an impactful time in my life, and it was insane how it coincided with all of the terrible things that were happening in my life. And that's what I had. I had my music. I had my clothes. Yeah. I had my TV. I had that. And the things that it was showing me was, you're dark. You're emotional. You need to find a way to get through that emotion. Okay, the way is start cutting. Start, going through, like, all of these things in your head. Like, suicidal thoughts, that's fine, like that sort of thing. And that was the culture, like that was it. Like Marilyn Manson had the Suicide is Painless song, like that sort of thing. It's just how people dealt with their emotions was just like through that music.
A lot of that music was like very, I mean, yeah, I wasn't like hardcore. I mean, like I definitely, again, I like jumped through so many different types of like identities and like groups and trying to figure out like who I was. And, I definitely was in that little like, oh, wow, okay, emo kids, I'm going to try that out. And then I'm going to try being a scene kid and all these things. I'm like, where do I fit in? Like, what? Whoa. And like a lot of that music that I listened to at the time was, really like really dark and very like the messages are just so like graphic. And, I think like that type of, and that was kind of how the culture and the community was. And I think like, yeah, that definitely also influenced me just at that time I guess I already was having like suicidal thoughts and like depression and stuff like that. So
that teen angst as well.
Right. And the general teen angst, I think like in a way it impacted me, I think negatively, and not realizing that until obviously like when I'm out of it and after
exactly
the fact.
You always see it in retrospect. You never see it when you're actually in that moment.
Right. Wow. So like so you're saying like the emo, it's not a phase. I was like, oh shit. Not your, because you're still, that's still you. So that impacted you like immensely when you were
it definitely did. It was that outlet.
Was it mostly like the music, or was it like the community, or also how do you think about like how the media portrayed the emo scene or the?
I would say it was more about the music. Okay. That was definitely the most important.
I feel like the music was the most.
Like what was coming out at that time. Right. And what was the last question? And how the media portrayed the emo subculture? Yeah. The media had no idea what the fuck they were talking about.
Because like they have a lot of the media has so many stereotypes of emo kids. Yeah. Even till now, it's still the same.
It's still the same.
The emo kids are still the same. And I'm like, did they not grow up? Like
come on, dog.
I think there's more than just like the black like hair and the dark makeup, right? Like
there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
what does the media get wrong? I'm just curious now.
Well, here we go.
Just a quick list of things.
I don't know. It's a lot of. I mean, okay. So the stereotype is that emo kids are only interested in emo music, emo people, clothes. They shop at Hot Topic and all this stuff. Like. I knew a lot of emo kids that liked different types of music and liked like hanging out with other people and stuff, but they had that specific style, they had that way about them where they did exemplify the emo, I guess, beingness, but they were also interested in other things. They were interested in their family and hang out.
It wasn't like the only thing.
Yeah, like they're people, people have other interests. Like I was an emo kid, but dude, like my music choices have vast like they're always changing.
Right,
They're always I listen to emo music, I listen to screamo, I listen to blues, I listen to jazz, rap, rock. Like I listen to everything. I listen to death metal if I like need that. You know, other times I'll listen to pop rock. I love fucking 90s music. Like NSYNC
sometimes
is
you
my
listen
jam.
to Britney Spears.
I freaking jam to Britney Spears, especially during karaoke, you know? Like, it's not just that one thing. Right. And, you know, not all emo kids are suicidal or anything like that. It's a lot of just, like, what they're, you know, the style, you know?
Right.
But, yeah.
Interesting. So, like, because back to Euphoria, because we were talking, you touched on that a little bit, and, like, how... specifically how you get triggered, or is it like a specific scene or a character, or it just kind of depends, or a situation or something that somebody says? What is it mostly for you that triggers you?
Well, it was interesting because I was watching,
or it could be like not even just Euphoria, like any other show or movie or something, you know.
Well, I do want to touch base on Euphoria because it's so recent.
Right.
So
I have a lot to say about that show too.
Yeah, so a lot of what Rue was going through, I mean, Zendaya's performance is like
I think she's great. She's really great on that show.
Just the way she goes about certain things, the way she reacts to certain things that people do and say, the way she does drugs.
I think her performance is so nuanced that it's for me, like, overall is a pretty like wonderful portrayal of a lot of the types of illnesses or disorders that she's going through. Yeah,
and it's just. It's just so realistic that I just
that it's a little too much for you to
daunting. Yeah, I was just like, oh my God, I have been there in some sort of way, and I don't ever want to be back there. And it was, I mean, it's still a time for me right now where I'm a little lost because I'm still waiting for a therapist. I'm still in that like zone where I'm on the cusp of having a mental breakdown, and I still haven't found that solution yet. So any sort of little thing can completely set me off the rails. So I just cannot go there because if I do, I don't know if I'm going to be able to come back.
Totally. And that's also the thing is, like, that's great that you have that awareness, that self-awareness, because I mean that's kind of the thing for me, like if and like I'll get triggered by the media sometimes too, but I think I've done a better job of just knowing where I'm at, and like, you know, before I watch something heavy that I know is probably going to be heavy, like Euphoria or you know, any other show or movie that deals with the mental illness, like you know, it is helpful for shows and movies like that to have trigger warnings, because
oh my God, that's really important,
right? Because I want to know what I'm getting into, you know, and there have been other films and stuff that I walk into and I'm like, okay, I was not prepared for this. And
do they have trigger warnings generally
for films?
Yeah,
they don't. But like I think
TV shows, like
TV shows definitely do
nowadays.
Yes, I think Euphoria had like it wasn't a specific like written trigger warning. I think they had I definitely remember seeing videos of the cast saying like, hey, you know, this. I think 13 Reasons Why also did that. After the fact, like after season 1.
Like they
then
were
they
like,
added trigger warnings.
People said something.
Yeah, they were like, okay. Oh, okay, listen. So anyway, trigger warnings are helpful. And for me, it depends. Like I can definitely watch stuff like that, but I have to know that I'm in a good place. Like I'm in a place where I don't think if I watch something really like graphic or you know, I know that there's a possibility that will happen. Like I have to make sure that I can handle it. And if I can't, while I'm watching it, I will turn that shit off. You know, I'll just be like, you know what, if I feel myself like,
can't do it.
Whoa, no way. Like this is triggering. This is like, I'm getting into a very bad headspace. It's like, you know, you have to have that kind of self-awareness to just be like, okay, I'm going to cut this off. I'm not going to watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think like it's what I think. You know, I'm a huge advocate for, you know, I always say like storytelling is powerful. It's the way that we can, and the media is the most powerful
It really is.
That can influence us as human beings and us as a society and can create change. But it can also be very hurtful. Harmful, and also, but it can also be helpful. So, you know, it's just the way we have to just be careful of the way that we
just to be cognizant about the fact that it can
really and it gets someone. And it's really tricky with storytelling, and like as a filmmaker, and you know, you too, like it's tricky when you know, I'm having to always like question myself and second guess, or just kind of like sit you know, step back when I'm writing something, and
whether
I'm writing,
that's the
especially
right
when I'm writing material about mental health. And you know, that's what I write about a lot. It's balancing being true to my experiences and also true to like what I know is, well, this is accurate and authentic for me and my experiences, but also how much of this should I show that it's not triggering to other people, where in a way that it is, you know, there is definitely a line. And, you know, one of the shows that I felt like really danced in that line was 13 Reasons Why. And it was just so controversial, like when that show came out, the first season. And, you know, I was like, I'm going to watch it because I want to know what everyone's talking about and all of this. And you know what? I think like, well, first of all, that show has already lost its way.
Oh, no.
Like I think it's the third season now. I don't know, third or fourth. I was just like, what is this? This is, no.
So it should have been like a one season.
I
like
definitely think it should have just been a mini series, like one season, that's it. But, you know, the most controversial scene was the one with Hannah's death and
suicide.
Yeah. And how she was cutting herself in the tub. And man, that was graphic, and it was triggering for sure. And like I understand at the time, honestly, I was like kind of defending it at the time because I was like, you know what, I know that I put myself in the storyteller's perspective, in the filmmakers and the writers and the creators' perspective of like they wanted to be authentic and accurate. Yeah. And I was like, totally, I'm all about that. But at the same time, there still is a line that needs to be very you tread carefully on. Yeah.
Because it's like because even creating it might not have gone through anything like that, so maybe they're not aware that people that have gone through it can get fucked up by it.
Right. Because again, I'm all about like talking about mental health and showing it and depicting it authentically and accurately and not misrepresenting it, but then also knowing when this is enough to show. This is enough to talk about.
Yeah, because people like blood and gore and those types of movies, like that makes sense. But when it's something so real like this, it can definitely be harmful.
It can, and it's like, it just depends on the person, and it's better, I think, to be a little bit more safe than to have that. And you know, and now like Netflix removed that scene from.
Really?
Yeah, they removed it after like, but like way later. I think like maybe 3 years after
3 years
the show released. I can't remember, but it was like I think last year's when they removed it. I forgot when the first season came out. Yeah. But yeah, and it was that thing was so controversial. But I think the show, in ways, I think at least it started a conversation, is what I want to say. Yeah. You know, but those were I had like some moments watching that show too where I was just like, okay, I'm gonna take a step back because this is a little much right now. But yeah, it's just like kind of knowing where you're at and being able to gauge like this is enough for me or it's not. And you know, and some people still need some time to like learn. I guess like practice self-awareness, you know? Yeah. And it's like knowing your triggers, and that all comes with therapy.
It definitely
and
does.
knowing yourself more, you know?
After
which
years
takes time.
and years and years of like analyzing yourself. Yeah, definitely.
So how has the media influenced your mental health? Are there any like specific instances that you can share?
I mean, I think I touched base on that, but I have a hard time. I don't know. I think maybe it's negatively influenced my mental health, but also it's made me aware of certain things. Because like a lot of the times, like the media will bring out something that you never really knew about. Yeah. You know, you'll learn something new, and then you'll start researching and you'll start trying to understand and all of this stuff, whether it's like a straight up fact about someone in the past or just like a feeling that people have sometimes, you know, like things will be brought up and you'll be more interested in a topic and want to start learning, and that will bring a whole awareness to other people and being interested in learning and all of that stuff. So I did learn a lot about myself after, you know, learning more about these characters that I've watched and things like that, or, you know, learn more about relationships and people and how to deal with people in some ways and how maybe not to, based off of their reactions in these TV shows. But it's not real. Most of them aren't realistic, and it's not like real life. So I can't really just be like, oh yeah, like that's how it is, or that's whatever. But growing up and trying to find myself and try to understand who I am, I think the media maybe negatively impacted my mental health in that sense.
Yeah, more than positively.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I would say both for sure. And I agree with that, because there are like shows and films and other types of media that I felt like was like, wow, that shed a lot of light on mental health that I didn't realize. So, you know, I've learned a lot through just like through the media and but then there's also like specifically, I think the way that, you know, news stories, talking specifically more about like news and journalism, it covering mental health and mental illness and suicide can be like a little bit tricky too, because, you know, things can go like trending really quickly, and it can just be plastered everywhere, and everyone's talking about it, and you can't escape it, especially if you're on social media. And for me specifically, like when Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain died by suicide, like literally days apart from each other, it was everywhere. The news was covering every single outlet. It was on Twitter like 24/7. And at that time, I was already like severely depressed. And so when I was reading up on that, of course, I was just like, oh man, this sucks. This is, and because I was already in that space, in that headspace, it made it worse for me because I was seeing all of this and then like kind of reading up on it, which, you know, for me, I should have just turned it all off, but I didn't at the time because I was still like, this was before I learned, you know, boundaries and triggers and all of that. And so seeing that in the media, it just really like it made it so much worse for me at the time, and I didn't really know how to like cope with it. But I think it's, you know, again, like I think at the time, if I had known, if I had had the proper like tools and whatnot to understand that like, okay, this is like really triggering for me, I should stop reading, or I should stop, you know, looking at social media that much. But then there are other ways where media has helped me and has connected me to other people that have made me feel like I'm seen and heard, and like having a community, you know.
That's the thing too. More people are aware. That allows you guys to have that dialogue, which then creates the community. So that's where the media can come in and like shed light on everything, which is good, but sometimes it gets out of hand.
Right. Yeah. Okay. What are, in your opinion, some harmful or versus helpful ways that the media represents mental illness?
Harmful or helpful?
Harmful. This is like our other. This is like our other segment. Harmful versus helpful. But just for me, like different representations in the media that are harmful, and then ones that are helpful. I made a whole list. So for me, these are some harmful misrepresentations.
Misrepresentations, okay.
In the media of mental health in general, is that a lot of like, and this covers like kind of all media, you know, like films, TV, music, but I guess mostly film and TV. But they mostly cover mental illness as like when a character has mental illness. This is kind of usually the stereotypes that they fall into, like that we're violent, you know. We're violent, we look different, we are different, our mental health disorders are like all the same, and they're all extreme.
Oh man, yeah. There's no
and
term for mental health.
They're always like just to the extreme. Like we're always the villains, you know what I mean? And that people with mental illnesses never recover.
We're not bad people.
And also that mental hospitals are evil.
Right. Or like people are just running around screaming with naked, like no clothes on. Just like, you know.
Right. and that it's just like all these extremes, and those are so like not accurate at all.
It's fucking disrespectful. Yeah. You know? It just is.
She's mad. Yeah. No, but it is though, right? Like when I see that, I'm like, dude, that's not all we are. You know, like we are not defined by our illnesses.
Exactly.
And so to counteract that, more helpful representations and more accurate representations are like, why don't we show characters with mental disorders who can change, show the change, show the recovery,
do everything,
process,
everyday things in their lives, and still work through their mental you know, issues.
Show like the nuanced and varying levels of mental illness, because it's not always that extreme. You know, there are people that are just kind of like, okay, yeah, they deal. Everyone has different levels to it.
Yeah. It's never black and white.
And that we don't look like these exaggerated, like caricatures. Like people with mental illness look like regular people.
Yes.
Like us right now.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
And mental hospitals are a safe place. Like they can be a safe place.
A hospital is a hospital.
They're not evil.
Yeah.
You know, they don't look scary and like have like, you know, those are abandoned old, like,
they're
I don't
actually
know.
kind of beautiful. They're tranquil. They have like the one that I went to had like a little terrace in the middle of it with plants and things like that.
That's cute.
You know, they're serene. It's just about, you know, kind of taking that time to relax, and they need that relaxing environment, because if you have this scary, crazed environment,
who's gonna get better there?
Exactly, you create that crazy. You know, you want to be in a nice environment,
right? And then and that we don't always show acts of violence and like graphic.
I mean,
stuff
yes,
like
there
that.
are
like,
episodes, but it's not an everyday thing. You know.
100%. But yeah, that's some of like what I think the media definitely gets wrong about mental illness, or you know, characters with mental illness.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. How about you? Are there
I completely agree with you.
I hit it all. That's me. Dope. Well, in that case, should we move on to our little fun segment that we have?
Sure.
Or you got anything else to add there?
Let me see. Oh wait, we forgot about
what?
So we were going to talk about the shift in the dialogue.
Oh, yes. Oh, wow.
So,
I thought that was later, but yeah, let's do it now then.
Oh, is it now? Is it later? No, it's... Oh, yeah, it's later.
You know, you're just excited to talk about it.
I am excited.
I am too, though. But let's play our little segment.
Okay.
So this is realistic or not realistic.
Realistic or not.
Not the best title,
just
but you know
what?
Straight up,
realistic or not. It's a great
is
title.
It real?
Okay.
Or
don't
not.
second guess yourself. Ourselves.
You read the titles. So
realistic or not.
There we go.
There we go.
So we're going to analyze. We're analyzing performances in movies and TV that highlight mental illness or characters with mental illness / disorders.
Rachel, you go first.
Alrighty. Oh man. Oh, actually, you know what? I kind of already talked about this.
Yeah,
which
we actually kind of did talk about a lot of them.
I was like, oh shoot, I did talk about.
Well, but it's okay.
I have other examples. I can talk about that because I already talked about 13 Reasons Why, which I like I did say is I think accurate and realistic in most ways, but still too triggering and too graphic in my opinion. So, and then we talked about Euphoria, but I did want to get a little bit more specific about Euphoria. Okay. So, in the episode, what episode is it? I think I should have looked this up, but I think it's 7, where Rue is going through her very deep depression, and this is when we find out. Oh, spoilers!
Jeez.
I'm gonna just let y'all know. I should have said that at the top.
The fuck, Rachel?
No, we should.
Oh my god!
No, we should have said this at the top.
Spoiled it. Holy
anyway,
crap!
So y'all,
you guys,
we're gonna put this in the title. You're spoiling
I'm sorry,
stuff too.
I'm fucking with you.
Okay, so we should have said this at the top. Honestly.
We totally should have. Disclaimer: there are spoilers after this
we're
point.
We're so late. Anyways, so we'll just put this in our titles. Anyway, all right. So yes, there's a spoiler. I'm about to spoil a little bit of it. Okay, so if you haven't seen Euphoria, I think the 7th episode, Rue's going through a very deep depression, and then we kind of find out that she might have bipolar disorder. We don't know if it's 1 or 2. They did not say. And for the most part, I did think that it was realistic, but I think there were a lot of parts of it. I think parts in the, not even parts in that episode, but just in the season in general that were rushed. Because I felt like, all of a sudden she's spiraling and going through a bipolar episode.
Instead of like, giving it time.
Right. Because I think like, even in just that episode, her mania was short-lived. And so, but again, like, I don't know if it was bipolar 1 or 2 or if she was rapid cycling. Like, there's so many questions I had, and I was like, wait, I don't know. But the thing is, like, I do praise the show for showing how our mental health affects our physical health, because I think what that episode did really, really fantastic was that fantastically.
Fantastically.
Is that a word? Okay.
Yes.
What they did fantastically was showing how, like, because Rue was in a severely, like, deep depressive episode, and, like, she couldn't get up for days or, like, weeks, I think, to go pee. And it was
I remember watching that.
Man, it made my stomach hurt.
Girl, actually, that was a moment where I was like, fuck.
Is that where you're like, I'm going to go now?
I have completely fucking been there.
You don't want to fucking get up when you're depressed like that.
Can't.
You're like, I'm going to stay under my sheets.
Your body is
I will not move. I will not fucking move.
Nothing.
Right. So I think what the show like, was great, amazing.
Yeah,
I'm clapping. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were, again, like, other facts. I feel like just, I don't know. I just still had questions, and maybe they'll address it in the second season. We'll see.
Yeah. You never know.
So for the most part, I'd say pretty realistic.
Realistic as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about, okay, your turn.
Well, we were going to talk about Shutter Island.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I haven't seen Shutter Island in a while. So I think you may have a more fresher perspective because I haven't seen it in a minute, but I do remember some things.
Yeah, so in this movie, we have a character who is trying to figure this mystery out, you know, all this stuff. And we later find out that he's going through this mystery. He's learning, like, all of these things, but it turns out his psychologist is the one testing him and trying to help him remember what he's forgotten and what he's chosen to forget in his mind, and which has created this mania, which I think is schizophrenia, is that his wife murdered his 2 or 3 children in front of him and then murdered herself. And he spiraled out of control and created this whole nother world for himself where he was trying to figure out who killed someone. And yeah, it's an interesting little mystery. You don't find out about it until the very end, but it's also just like, wow, not realistic at all.
It goes through, like, all these different avenues. And
absolutely no fucking way that this guy's psychologist is going to allow him to go around with, like maybe even a fake weapon. I don't fucking know. But, like, he's,
I remember, like, this
all around.
I remember this movie being, like, scary to me. And I was just
It was the music. It was the...
it was the music.
It's just like, sorry, I'm being really annoying.
No, but another thing is, like, yeah, it was making it like this scary mystery thriller thing with, like,
but then it just turned out that he was crazy.
Yeah, quote unquote crazy.
Quote unquote crazy. But then at the very end of this episode, or sorry, not episode, movie, there's a moment when, I can't remember specifically what he says, but there's a moment when the question is asked whether or not he will remember or whether or not he will choose to forget. And there's a moment where he says something to his colleague where it suggested that he's chosen to forget and is choosing to destroy the monster or destroy what he's created and allow himself to get a lobotomy. Kind of deep, but also just so unrealistic.
Yeah. Dang. I haven't seen it in a while, so
there's no fucking way.
No way that would happen. What else you got? Because I mean, I could talk about this other show.
So I have, I guess you haven't seen the first and second seasons of The L Word. Maybe it's the third. But there's a moment where the main character, Jenny Schechter, is dealing with repressed memories of her childhood. Okay. Like, she had this, I think, sexual assault. And as she's remembering all of these things, she goes into, like, a really deep depression and doesn't really understand why she's even, like, going through this.
She doesn't remember.
She starts cutting and all of these things, and she's just, like, really just down and out and, like, has no idea what to do. All of her friends are kind of, like, supportive, but also, like, what the fuck is going on? very early 2000s, TV show, but really realistic in the way that she handled herself because not knowing what's going on with you, not knowing like who you are or what's happened because of whatever is very, very accurate. And just the way that she was just like, I don't know, like anything. It's just, I don't know. It was just very well done in that sense.
That was the third season?
Yeah, it was. I think it was the third season. I don't know specifically. But also, like, as she's trying to, oh God, I just like knocked over something. As she's trying to remember all these things, she goes through these conversations with her family members and people and stuff like that, where they're, kind of ignoring the idea that something happened to her and all of these things. And it's just like, man, that feeling of people in your family not being there for you. Yeah. Like, I know what that's like, and I know kind of just how you sometimes just have to do it on your own. So just that portrayal of like her like trying to figure out who she is, being the odd one out and like all of the stuff, and also like as she's trying to figure this stuff out, like just cutting and not really knowing what to do with herself. Very accurate in my eyes.
Oh, well, I'm gonna have to catch up.
Yeah, we're watching the new season of The L Word, which is bomb. But yeah, you got to catch up with the old version.
I really do. It's just like so many seasons. Yeah. But I will, because I love binge watching shows anyway. So yeah. I was gonna. I could kind of talk about this because I thought it was interesting, and like this is another I think common problem that I have with a lot of television shows when they depict mental illness is that it doesn't carry on throughout like the season, or like when
they
the
touch
character
base on it once and that's
right,
it.
like one episode, and I'm like,
God,
this is no. It's not like
Give me
have.
More. I need to know more.
Because it's not like the character all of a sudden deals
Snaps
with this or has this mental illness, and then all of a sudden the next episode it's gone. Or the episode before that, right? So like this happened in Girls with Hannah's character.
Girls, right?
And Hannah,
the OCD thing.
Yes, yeah, she has said to have had OCD,
which they didn't touch base on at all throughout the entire series. And then all of a sudden,
like, there's this one episode
this is back again
where she has OCD, and like I guess
they're
couple
of episodes.
I guess they're like. Their argument with that was that like it was gone for a little bit,
and
but like we never saw it in like the season
at all ever
until that one episode,
and it was kind of just like, wait, what the fuck?
And then you see all these symptoms, and we're like, yeah, okay, she deals with that, and then it goes away, and then I was like, hold on, what? Like it just kind of came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere and then came back, and now it's gone.
I think that was like the only mental health portrayal of anything in that show, right?
I think so. I don't know. I didn't finish it.
And it was also the very extreme. Yeah, she was counting. She was doing all this. She was like, fluttering her eyelids 8 times or whatever, and like counting
the
steps.
Yes, like people with OCD can deal with that
right
stuff,
away,
right?
Out of nowhere, I don't know.
Yeah. So again, like that's. I don't know. Like there are parts of it I guess can be accurate because people with OCD can deal with those things, but at the same time, it's also the way that you portray these characters, or the way that you're telling the story, and it's just. I think there just needs to be a better job with.
Don't make it random, just,
right? Like plant the seeds earlier in the season, earlier in the episodes too.
And just all of a sudden, just be like, oh yeah, there's this one time where she's just gonna be OCD, and it's gonna be cool. That's great. We're girls,
man. Right. Oh boy. Yeah, there you go. Did you have
I have one more actually. Okay. It's kind of a funny story.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a movie. I think maybe I've mentioned this before, but it's a movie where this kid suffers from depression, and he goes to a mental health hospital.
Oh, this is the one with
Atypical.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. I just call him Atypical. But
his name is Atypical.
But yeah,
and he's a cool dude. He's a cool dude.
So this movie came out a couple months after I went to the hospital, or very close to that time, and I watched the movie afterward, and I was like, wow, this is very accurate to where like the things that happened in the hospital would happen like in the hospital, I think I also read the book, and I remember thinking that too. Like this guy that wrote the book also had this experience. So I don't remember if it was like based on his true story or if it was just like a story, whatever. But it was very, very similar to the things that would happen in the hospital and everything. And I was like, okay, this is something real, you know, something that isn't embellished or ridiculous or anything like that. These are real people that go to a hospital to get their, you know, shit taken care of. And it was really well done in my opinion.
Oh, well, I gotta check that movie out. I've heard of it, but I haven't like seen it at all. I'll add that to my list.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well done. Well done.
All right. I mean, honestly, I could talk about way more shows and movies, but you know,
we're kind of like movie people.
Yeah. I honestly could keep going, but you know, we might not have much time.
So let's move on.
This is what you were so excited about.
Yeah, now I'm not even excited about it. What the fuck?
Go on, since you're really excited to talk about this.
Well, we wanted to talk about the shift that, like, I don't want to say randomly
honestly,
happened.
We keep calling it this magical shift. It's
but
like,
there is a shift that happened.
Yeah, no, for sure. There was.
A couple years ago, I don't know specifically at what point, but there was a shift in consciousness in the world where people started saying, we are going to wake up and realize that we need to talk about things. We need to accept ourselves for who we are. We need to accept other people. We need to own ourselves, own our bodies, own our minds, our thoughts. The woke movement. You gotta say it with more oomph. Get some enthusiasm in there.
Oh my gosh.
We are fucking woke right now. Now I'm hyped. Don't make fun of me.
The woke movement.
Yes, the woke movement. And
right.
It's so important.
There was a whole just there was a time where I feel like there was a before the woke movement and after.
Completely.
And because we never talked about things like, you know, mental health, self-care, self-love, empowerment, female empowerment.
And that was touched based upon a little bit before, but not in this capacity.
Right. And now it's like just thrust into the mainstream. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with, I don't know, I think there was a lot of factors that contributed to this.
What do you think?
I definitely think the Me Too movement was a huge factor and a huge, like, I think...
stepping stone.
Right. Like, it just spread all this awareness about sexual assault, of course, but also how women have been treated for such a long time and how we've been so silenced and unheard. And now, you know, things are like, we started to slowly change that with the Me Too movement. And then like everything else kind of followed after that, I think. So I feel like it was around that time, or I don't know. How about you? Like, what do you think contributed to the this shift?
Just as you said, I mean, for me personally, I mean, I have the spiritual ideals as well because I am a pagan, because I do see things in different ways. There's a spiritual shift as well. Like I said, it's like the world consciousness is starting to rise up into, I call it the 3D. Right now we're in the 3D where evolving. It's like, we're evolving. So the 3D right now is like where we are right now in our mindsets. It's kind of just like the lowest level. And then we move up to the 4D where we start thinking about these new ideas and these new things that can help the world and the world as a whole, not just like individuality or individually. It's everyone together as a group, just standing strong together. And it's a lot of like the age of Aquarius and like, you know,
you were talking about that. Right. What does that mean? What does like the age of Aquarius mean?
It's of awareness.
Okay.
It's of being enlightened and finding that way of becoming the best version of yourselves with everyone involved, you know? Because we had the age of Pisces before where it was kind of just like, you know, we're learning some stuff, but we're kind of like itsy bitsy and a little stupid. Sorry, Pisces. But, you know, like we're kind of, you know, back in the day where we were believing things that people told us rather than now, like as millennials, we're going into our own.
Right. Again, I was going to touch upon that too. I think it was also because our generation as millennials, like we grew up in a way where I think now we have been so like, I don't know, we saw that there was a need for change in so many different like facets of our lives where we didn't want to be stuck in this traditional like mindset of family and economy and the way that like, you know, most of us are like, I think paved the way for, and also because of technology, paved the way for like entrepreneurship. And then like, now we like, most of us we're not getting married or having families until way later. Right. We have different priorities.
Exactly.
And so that also I think has caused this shift too in like what we value, and because like, we're one of like the biggest, millennials are like one of the biggest
generation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of influence in like the way that like we change. We I think definitely
do things differently.
Change the shift. Same word. We shifted it.
The
narrative.
Narrative.
That's what I want to say.
That's the word I was looking for.
There you go, teamwork. So
shifted the narrative.
That's what we did. Yeah, and so I'm curious, like, what's the next age? Age of what?
Well, I mean, that's in 2,000 years, so we're not going to be alive at that point.
But what is it? Do you know?
What's the new age? The new age is, I might be wrong, but I think it's Taurus? I don't know. I have to work on my astrology.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just curious.
But again, 2,000 years later, I won't be here.
We won't be here, so we won't know how that's like.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I think that was like so interesting because it really, now mental health and illness is more, it's just portrayed in the media in a more like, just in a like, what's the word? Massive. Like it's more so like it's just more open and people aren't afraid. We aren't afraid to talk about it as much anymore.
We aren't afraid to do the things we want to do either. Because back in the day, our parents, their parents, they always did as they were told. Right. Now we say, no, we are going to stand up for ourselves. We are going to do what we
things
want.
Differently.
Yeah,
because
and we are going to change the world in that way.
The way that the economy has also treated us has like not been...
Yeah, they fucked us. Like, I'm fucked. We're fucked.
So we're like, okay, well, we need to be innovative, and we need to figure out different ways to support ourselves
completely,
economically.
Completely. And that's how we're doing it. And that's what we're doing with all of these things in general.
Right. And I think even before that, a lot of films and TV shows that depicted characters with mental illness were like so flat and one-dimensional and villains and all those stereotypes that I mentioned earlier. But now I think like after that shift was just, now we're seeing a rise of characters that are so much more nuanced and like we're really exploring so many different types of mental illness.
Yes.
Yeah, we're exploring so many different types of mental illness now, not just like before it was a lot of just people with schizophrenia are like murderers, stuff like that. Like now we have Euphoria, 13 Reasons Why, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, like all these,
real person portrayals.
Right.
Yes.
Which is like, it's exciting and it's great. Because the more that's out there in the media, the more that like there is a chance for us to really delve into it and talk about it and
yes, and
create more awareness.
We aren't scary. We're a little weird.
We're
Batsht.
But we ain't scary.
We're not scary. Look, I'm smiling right now.
Oh my God.
Rachel makes so much fun of me because I want to be fun. Like I want to have a good time, especially
we're having a good time.
Especially
because we were doing our promo photos and she was just like so happy. I was like,
I
wow.
was cheesing and Rachel's just like, ew.
I did not say that. I was just like, I would like to be more candid is what I wanted to do. Anyways, all right.
It's exciting.
Honestly, I feel like I could do like a second episode of this because there's so many other like shows and movies and
we can
and music
totally
and
do
all. Oh, gosh, I could just honestly name a movie or show and could just delve deep into it. For an hour or so. But anyways,
for 4 hours.
But anyways, so that actually leads me to my recommendation.
Oh fuck. So we always
She's
joke
the
about
worst
the fact that
at recommendations.
I forget recommendations and
you really forgot. Oh my God. Okay. So
but I had one in my other one.
Okay. So my recommendation is a really good one actually. So this is it's a podcast and it's called Pop Culture Therapists.
Huh.
They are so awesome. Like I love them. So they're actually these two therapists, like licensed professionals, therapists, who analyze how mental health is portrayed in TV and movies.
Ooh, I love that.
It's so good. So what they do is like they choose one specific like either TV show or movie and they just delve way deep into it
Cool.
and talk about like the way that the characters are portrayed and mental illness and all of that. Yeah, they have a ton of episodes and they talk about like a bunch of different types of shows and films. So check them out. Pop Culture Therapists.
Pop Culture Therapists. I'm going to, add them now.
Watch that. I mean, listen to it. It's not a video.
No, I was curious. Like, they could totally do a YouTube channel, too. And
yeah,
be like, you know,
they
on
should.
top of it.
They totally should.
People love that
they
sort
should
of
like,
thing.
Yeah, they should, you know, I'm giving them, like, suggestions.
Yeah,
I should tweet them.
do it. Because, like, you have Dr. Mike, and he's, like, you know, the hot doctor or whatever, but he also, like, watches TV shows and, you know, will comment on the different things. You know,
like, I wanted
TV
to do that,
shows.
but that's just, like, a long-ass episode for us.
One day, maybe we'll do that on YouTube.
Maybe, like, a little fun, like, one-off video we can do or something.
Totally.
Yeah. Anyway, that is, I think that's, that it?
AAD doesn't have a recommendation.
Okay, yeah. There we go.
I'm talking to myself in the third person.
Wait, you know what? Honestly, your recommendations could be the shows and movies that, like, you
I
mentioned.
have so many fucking recommendations in this episode. Yes.
There you go.
It's all of the shows,
that
all
you
of
mentioned.
the things.
But like, no, you could say, you know, the shows and movies that you think accurately portrayed mental illness.
They are totally every sort of recommendation that I can give.
Which is what? Which is what?
They're great. Okay.
What? No, give one show or movie.
So I would say Skins. Definitely a
you
great movie or TV show to watch based on teenagers and what they deal with and all of that stuff. Obviously British version, not the piece of shit American version. I'm sorry, America, but like that was balls.
Okay.
And it's kind of a funny story. If you've never been in a mental hospital, then check it out and see what it's really like. Those are my two recommendations.
That's it. You already said that earlier.
Well, didn't we just talk about the fact that I had great recommendations and I just wanted to reiterate them?
That's it. All right. Well, anyway, so my other ones that, other shows and movies, like off the top of my head, that have been like really good, I think, representations of mental illness or mental disorders are Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Rebecca's character deals with a borderline personality disorder. I think really, really great representation.
What do you think about the title, though?
It's so funny. It's so funny.
What do you think about the title, Crazy
I
Ex-Girlfriend?
think, like, I don't have a problem with it because I think for her, and I've been to, like, a panel of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend with Rebecca, that's not her name, Rachel Bloom, and like the creators and stuff. And I think for her, like, it's kind of the same thing that we're doing is like taking ownership of the term and taking ownership of that, you know, the word crazy and the word like, you know, Batsht and stuff like that. Like I did the same thing with my mental health web series called Crazy, is taking that word back and like gain and having power over it, you know.
Gotcha. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. So yes, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. We talked about Euphoria, and what movie was I gonna mention? No, I've already mentioned that movie so many times. That's it. Before I go off and like name other things.
Well, I'm curious now what movie it was.
Oh, Honey Boy.
Oh, Honey Boy, gotcha.
Which I talk about a lot because it's a really great representation, I think, of PTSD. And PTSD that's not related to like war or
because that's all you really
that.
see.
Exactly.
Most people only think PTSD has to do with that, but
no,
trauma is
just
trauma.
Trauma
in general.
Exactly.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, check that out. Oh yeah, This Is Us. Yeah, This Is Us.
Which I still haven't seen, but people keep recommending.
I need to catch up with it, but that episode with Randall's anxiety was just like, I was like, oh man, that's me. Like that's what happens when I'm so like when I have an episode of just like a huge anxiety attack. Like I was like, you can't like I can't do anything.
You can't function.
Like I honestly like have to sit there and I'm like with my overwhelming and over anxious thoughts and like having crying spells and stuff like that, you know. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, check out those shows and movies and yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks
I'm
for
just
watching.
like starting to think about like the anxiety and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Jeez. But yeah, thank you so much
for
watching,
watching
everyone.
and listening. We will check y'all next time in our next episode.
Check it.
Yeah. We'll check y'all later.
See ya.
All right. Peace out. Stay batshit.
Stay batshit. Bye.